Welcome to our maths lesson, formulae and variation. Okay, now we had SPSS3 and this is SPSS4, student problem solving session. So in this session, we are going to dwell on partial variation, the two sons. I've written them. Y is equal to mx plus c. I have just changed the position of c and mx to suit my explanation. So y is equal to c plus mx. The second son is y is equal to mx plus kz. You can see in both cases there are three terms. The variations can be direct, can be inverse. And those forms of direct or inverse will incorporate things like square root, square, cube root, cube. Those are basics. So dwell on the basic, understand the concept, and then move on. So I'm going to get a question from KMF. This question says, a quantity T is partly constant. Partly constant. That should prick your mind. Which son? First son. It is the one which contains the word constant. There are only two sons. There are only two alternatives. So master the skills. Already I know is testing me, partial variation, and particularly first son. So T is partly constant and partly varies. Partly. We move step by step. He says and there is addition. Partly varies as the square root of s. That first statement enables us to write something. But it is good to read on. A, using constants. Using constants. A and B, write down the equation connecting T and S. First question is, we need to write equation connecting T and S. The equation connecting T and S. Now, you have been told to use constants A and B. So he says T partly constant, and then and varies as square root of s. I've just extracted the words. Okay? This is a relationship. It has no equal sign. It's a relationship. I've just extracted, condensed. I've just condensed. You see, in Form 1 you also do that. Condensation. Okay? I've just condensed the bigger picture. I have just synthesized. I've chopped small areas that I know. There. Then I say T, when I introduce equal sign, I have to put the constant. Which constant does he want? He says A and B. So the way it is flowing, it is important I put A there. Because he said constants A and B. And here we have this and that. So I say that, and then I say plus. I write this square root of S, and I put there my letter B. That is a free mark. That's a free mark. That's A. See what I've done? I've just picked the key things that I know. The key things I was taught. T varies partly as constant and, see? And, when he says and, then you put, then he moves on. Partly varies as square root of S. I put there. If he has given me his constants, I use them. If you don't use his constants, you fail, okay? So use his constant if he has given you. So we have that mark. Then we go to part B, that T is 24 when S is 16. T is 24, S is 16. So I write here, T is 24, S is equal to 16. I come here and put T is equal to A plus, now look, why have I done that? Because he told me S is 16, so square root of 16, 4. You have it. You just move on with it. Don't mind about the negative aspect. A square root has always two solutions, okay? So move on with the positive. Then he says T is 32 when S is 36. S 36. T is 32. S is 36. And I know square root of 36 is 6. So what do I do now here? I put 32 is equal to A plus, now square root of 36 is 6. So I write here 6b. Now these two equations you may get again 1. And what do we do now? We need to solve them. This we can solve now. There. Already a constant exists here. Okay? So we have equation 2 minus 1 will give me positive values. But you can still move equation 1, this, minus equation 2. So what is 32 minus 24? That is 8. This will be 0. Then this will be 2b. Okay? So what does it give me? B is equal to 4. P is equal to 4. And you can substitute it anywhere, implying A is equal to 8. There. So we can have that. That's the work that you have. For because of my, this implies B is equal to 4 and A is equal to, B is equal to 4 and A is equal to 8. This was example 4. Number 4. KMF. Then we try KMF number 11. Okay? We try also number 11. We see. Remember, there are only two sons. There are only two alternatives. And there are key things to use. So we go to number 11. Number 11 says, the cost C the cost C of producing n items varies, now he has started, varies partly as n and plus as the inverse of n. So partly as n and partly as inverse of n. Okay, so I write here C, now it takes this form. C varies partly as n and varies as inverse of n. Okay, so I write this C is equal to partly as n, partly as n, partly as x. So I have m n and plus inverse of n here. So the other constant I'm introducing now is k. Inverse is 1 over n. So that is the equation. That is the equation. C varies partly as n and partly as inverse of n. So the key thing is there is no word constant. So any letter mentioned here must have a constant. There is no word constant. In example 1, there was a word constant. In example 2, no word constant. Look at the Spss S3. Okay? For any letter mentioned as a variation, it must be accompanied by a constant. So my constants here are in black, M and K. The N in red are variations. I told you it can be direct, it can be inverse. In which case, it can take the form of an ordinary figure, a square root, a cube root. He plays there. So master the skills. We are going to focus down so that we concentrate with this. So that is the framework. Now what does it say? To produce n items. And now he says to produce 2 items. So n is equal to 2. It costs 135. And to produce 3 items, it costs 140. Okay? To produce 2 items, it costs 135. But to produce 3 items, it costs 140. C stands for the cost and number of items. Then I come and do. We focus down here. I want us to focus so that you move the camera. It's a bit, I think I can, the camera is misbehaving. I can focus it there for the time being. Yes. So that you can see the whole of this. C varies partly as n and varies as inverse of n. So n is the number of items and C is the cost. So we are told 135 is the cost to produce 2 items. Okay? And n is the one which stands for items. So n items. What do I do here now? Since there are 2, I write 2m plus k over 2. Okay. Then there is another one. There's another one. 140 is the cost to produce 3 items. So I have 3m plus k over 3. So these two should make us score. You can have for beginning score each. For beginning to give you motivation, score each. Score there, score here. What is that score for? For my lesson, that you are able to interpret. Your comprehension is okay. Your synthesis is okay. You have put things into small pieces, and now you want to handle the whole thing. This can simplify to, we can focus a bit down, we can simplify that to, there we can have some space here. So the first one, we can multiply everything by 2, which gives me 270 is equal to 4m plus k. And the second one is times 3. So 140 times 3. I'm trying to eliminate the fraction. So from equation 1, I multiplied everything by 2. That's why I got this. By 2, the 2 cancels. I remain with k. By 2, 4m. By 2, 270. Here, it will be by 3 now, times 3. Times 3. So 0, and then 3 by 4, 12. You remain with 1 for 20 is equal to here 9m plus k. Now these two can be solved. We can solve this. Again, you can do equation 1 minus equation 2, or I can do 2 minus 1. Consistency. So what is 420 minus 270? That is 150. Okay? Is equal to 5m. 9 minus 4, 5. 420 minus 270, that. So I've done 2 minus 1. I've done step 2, equation 2 minus 1. Now, this tells us m is equal to 30. M is equal to 30. Okay? Now, if m is 30, 30 times 4 is 120. 270 minus 120. 270 minus 120. It tells me k is equal to 150. Tells me k is equal to 150. Now, what is the question? I want us to look at question which is being asked. He's asking part A. You can do part B and C. Part A. Find the constants of proportionality. These are the constant of proportionality. This, mark it. Mark this. Mark those that you know how to get constants. They are also known as constant of proportionality. Then he says, hence. Hence means use your previous work. So I have to use these values. You cannot miss here and get the other. No. He says using, hence means using your previous work. He says write the equation connecting C and N. So we write C is equal to, I'm writing the equation connecting C and N. So where I had those variables here, I just put them. C is equal to M N plus K, that. So using this, now I write C is equal to, what did I get M to be? 30. So I write M 30 N plus K is 150. So if we write this, let us just say this was part of your method. This is your method. This is the final answer. See, I'm using red and black to show you the essence of variables and constants. They are variables and they are constants. So this is how you finish your work. This is the second son of variable of partial variation. Partial variation has two aspects. Y is equal to C plus mx, and y is equal to mx plus kz. You can use any letters. For my explanation, I've given you the meaning of all those letters. So this is the second alternative. Now, in conclusion, I take you back. In conclusion, I take you there. I think there you will be okay. There. Here. All your partial variation solved. It is either in format 1 or in format 2, which I've been using as the first son, second born. There are only two. Okay? Yeah. Isaac and Jacob. 2. So we have this. Please get into that book now. Try to do. When you fail, don't give up. It means you have not connected the skills. Subscribe more for partial variation, for joint variation. I have done. I'm telling you, keep on doing. Those are free marks. Tell your friend there's good stuff. Keep on subscribing. Bye-bye.